Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. My name is Matthew Cooper and today we're joined by the three Talking Wolves regulars. We'll start with the main man himself. Dave, how you going, mate?
Very well, thank you. A little bit husky after the weekend, after shouting at football players, both on Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, all good other than that, thank you.
Nicely navigated.
Yeah.
How are you, mate?
I saw you both like, okay.
Was that me? Sorry, I was only shouting Saturday.
Yeah, Finn. I asked Jord.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you went to.
No,
sorry,
it's fine. I know I normally go to Finn next, don't I? But I thought I'd switch.
I used to be the main man. I'm falling to third.
The main man used to get rotated. But I had a quote. Dave's like, "Go quick word with you, mate. I'm not coming to my man one more time." Finn, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I was only shouting Saturday, so I'm all good and happy to get a win. So we're going to be happy for once, I think, today. And
most importantly, Jord, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm fit, firing, and healthy, and my tonsils are intact, unlike Dave as well.
Nice, nice. Did you go to the game Saturday, Jord?
Yeah, I met you before the game.
Oh my God, you did.
It was a memorable.
Honestly,
meeting,
mate, my memory's awful. It's a bit concerning. Oh God, that's bad. That is really bad. I'm so sorry, mate. It was good to see you anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, how did you get on Sunday? Screaming at footballers? Do you have the kids again? Did you lose?
Mate. Yeah, massively. First loss in a long time, and it was a big defeat. 8-0, I think it was.
Oh my God.
Wolves scouts were there as well, weren't they? First time for as a party, and then
but
what's the team called again?
I'm not telling you. The referee, one of their players, took a throw in when his foot was fully on the pitch, and the parents are going mad at the ref. He goes, "No, in the rules, you're allowed 1 foot on the pitch for a throw in." So after the game, the parents told me that, and I was there like, even I had to Google it just to make sure I wasn't like losing the plot. So I had to leave a little note to the league secretary saying this referee needs to be told. So he was about 60 as well, the ref. Like, he should know the rules. But
well, I'm sure if they would have took the flowing properly, it wouldn't have been 8-0. I'm sure that was a catalyst for it all. When stuff like that happens, it falls apart.
Apparently, one of our lads got booked right at the start of the game. I didn't see it. The
books, aren't they like under 9s?
No, under 11s.
You've got bookings in under 11s. Mate, what are you drilling into there? You've got
parents like, you're going to have to pay a fine. And I said, what for? They said the booking at the start. I said, I'm going to have to check the replay. I didn't see it. I don't know, Jeff. Yeah. Have
you got the those cameras set up the side of the pitch? What they called again?
Some VO cameras. Some teams have them, but it's a lot of money for just me, like for just my team. So
you're not working on your shape.
Nah, unfortunately not. No.
Well, obviously not if you lost 8-0. But
it's our first loss in about 10. So
yeah, that'll do, mate. All good things must come to an end. And with one defeat, we also have a win in the shape of Wolves versus Nottingham Forest. Dave, how overdue was that win? Are you convinced? Do you think like we've turned a new leaf? Because I certainly don't, but who's asked?
Yeah, no, obviously the performance wasn't overly convincing, but we did what we had to do to obviously get the 3 points. I know, let's say we got a little bit fortunate with a penalty save, but I mean, for pretty much 65, 70 minutes of the game, we were by far the better team. And I think we deserved it. I think there's a lot of pressure off the players and the fans now. It was getting, as we know, quite toxic sort of this time last week. So I'm really glad that we got the win. And another few points over the next week or so, we're going to be in a completely different position in the table. So it was crucial we got that win. Forest, I know we haven't sort of played Leicester yet. Those are the two teams down there, but Forest were comfortably the worst team that we've played this season. So we had to make sure we got the 3 points. And it was let's just say it was a good enough performance. Yes, against other teams, we'll have to perform better, but we did what we had to do just to get back to winning ways.
It's funny you say that, Dave. I was checking the comments under your match review on Saturday, and most of them are kind of saying exactly what you said. As is always, everyone seems to agree with you. I don't know how you managed to do it. He knows his stuff. He does. But there was one comment, and it really stuck out to me. It said like, another win, and we can really go and do something special. And I was like, that's mad. That like a few days ago we were saying we're really getting sucked in and we're in a proper battle. But you are right, like maybe 4 points, 4 points from the next two, and you're back in mid-table, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's why obviously I understood why everyone was upset and angry last week, but I knew looking at the fixtures coming up that I wasn't expecting us to get like 12 points out of the next 4. But if you can still get 6 to 9, you'll definitely won't be in the bottom 3, and you'll be a lot closer to mid-table. I know we'll talk about the Palace game, but if you win that, you shoot up to like 12th or 13th in the table. So, yeah, we're still in an okay position. I think it's bought the club a lot of time in regards to the head coach search as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So I think, everyone, club, management, players, fans, everyone will be happy that we just managed to get the 3 points.
It's strange, isn't it, Finn, that the game on Saturday felt absolutely massive, even though maybe in the grand scheme of things it isn't. But you go and lose that game, and it's looking more likely that your next appointment's not going to be a project, but almost like a rescue mission, isn't it?
Yeah, firefighter, whatever they call him, a Sam Allardyce-esque. But no, yeah, it was only ever gonna be like that. I think it was only ever gonna be 0-0 or 1-0 either way. Fortunately, I had a bet on 1-0 Wolves, which is nice. I think 365 boosted it. So
how much did you put on it, mate?
I
know you like a gamble.
£1.
£1.
Yes.
How much did it return? Nice.
Yes, thank you.
That's been all at once.
That's big for me.
There are other betting partners out there, such as Betmate, by the way.
We'll come on to that. I nearly earned that. It was a big weekend for me. We'll come on to it. But no, I think now we've got that win, it's easy to say. Because now I look at the table, you think teams from 8th downwards, it's a pretty poor league, like all those teams scrapping in around. I saw a picture of the championship table the other day and how close it is. But also with a few wins in the Premier League, if you're from 20th to 8th, 9th, as I say, it's probably not too far off. I haven't studied it much, but you look at the teams now you've got a win under your belt. You go, well, we could do Palace, we could do Brighton, we could do Leicester, whatever. But yeah, it does. It just shows one goal and a saved penalty as well, and you automatically start looking up. But I'm sure there'll be a time soon where we start looking down again. But it's nice to look up for once. Yeah,
Jord, no goals from open play. Hit the post in the first half. But holistically, what do you think of the game and the performance overall?
I thought we did enough to win the game. I still feel we're going to have to play better to win games against other teams in this league. I thought we were good enough to beat a really, really poor Forest team, and I genuinely think they were probably the worst team I've seen down Molineux since we've been back in the Premier League. Genuinely, I thought they were so disjointed, and everything hearing about them, with all these signs they've got, I couldn't tell you what their plan was. There was no cohesion. And yeah, they were pretty poor, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And traditional Wolves way of making it as hard as possible to actually win a football game than needs to be. We did it, but look, I can't. I don't think we can moan really. We needed a win. We've got to win, and you just move on to Palace tomorrow night, and just take the positives out of it. You got 3 points, and now you've got to start looking up rather than behind your shoulder.
Dave, does the lack of chances that we create worry you going into the next 2? I know we're still talking about the Forest game, but there was a couple of opportunities where better decision making would have led to more chances. But I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if they're scared to take a risk and risk losing the ball. There's a couple of times we went through where like Costa would have been slid through and Podence has chosen a safe option. Does that concern? But do you think a win like that will lift spirits?
I think it'll definitely help. I think. Again, like we've already said, we know it's a weaker opposition, but I think in terms of actually getting the ball in the right sort of areas, on Saturday it was one of the best. I know we didn't actually score from open play, but it was one of our better attacking performances. I thought, you actually look at the chances we had. 8 Norris in the first half. I thought we'd scored that, put that in the back of the net. A couple of slightly better crosses by Adama, and I think we could have tested Henderson a couple of times more. And it was just that final ball, but the ball retention in that sort of final third was much better. Like Jord said, Forest weren't great. They were very sloppy. Steve Cook and is it Toffolo, the other centre half, looked really shaky. I think we should have tried to test them a little bit more. But I think it was the first time a lot of us got to see Diego Costa in the flesh at Molineux in a Wolves shirt, and you could tell he's attacking intelligence straight away. Yes, he's lacking that yard of pace maybe, but the attacking movement and how he's bringing others into play is very, very good. So I think it's just waiting. I think it's with a lot of things, players, performances from Nunes as well. We all know there's a player there, but we're just waiting for it to click. And if it all clicks at once, it'll all come good straight away again. But definitely more promising. And I think it is that I brought it up a few weeks ago. Just want to bring Adama back into the team, and that's what we did. And although, well, he sort of got the assist, and his shot was the one that was handball for the penalty.
Could have had another one as well with the Kilman header because he put that ball
Yeah,
in as well.
of course. That's another chance I didn't even bring up. Yeah, I thought that went into the back of the net as well. But yeah, he was just getting into the right areas a lot more, and just that slight bit better decision making, not just from Adama, but from a number of players. And I think we'll have a lot more chances.
I still don't think he looks fit. I still think he doesn't look as explosive as he once did. Now, whether that's through injury or what, but usually you'd see him try and burn past at least 2 or 3. But unless that's instruction, but I don't know. He seems a little bit hesitant to do that. But you are right about Costa. His movement is so intelligent. But him and Nunes together, to be fair, especially in the first half, they were both going at it almost like a 2, which I'd imagine is what they are trying to do. Just on Nunes. I was a bit frustrated with him on Saturday. And in the first half, I was sat next to the bloke at the game, and in the penalty area, he was like shoving. I don't know if you saw it, Finn, but there forward, he kept shoving him in the chest as the corner was coming in. And I turned to him and said, "He's going to get sent off here, or he's going to," because they were quite high, or give away a penalty. And lo and behold, he did. I mean, he had good moments as well, but his passing was shocking. Like everything was overcooked, and he's done that a few times. But like you said, Dave, just waiting for it to click. But yeah. I don't think he's really the man you want to get on the ball and spray balls around. He's a person you want to be spraying balls to. But I don't know, perhaps it's victim of the system. Talk about Wolves' penalty, Finn. Do you think it's a pen? I wasn't sure what they were checking for when they gave it.
No, like you say with Nunes' push, I hadn't picked up on any previous ones or that one, and I also hadn't picked up on it. Like I was filming it at the time, the Adama shot, and I was just appealing for the corner. Didn't see a thing. Then when you watch it back in slow mo, I think handballs are all. People always say, don't they, they're horrible in slow mo because it's a Wolves one. I'm going to say it is a pen, but. My dad was watching from some dodgy stream somewhere and said there was one in the first half that's never really been picked up anywhere that probably should have been more of a pen. There was a few, and then there was the Totti one as well. So I think on the other side of it, you'd say it's harsh. But I think when you look at the images that the ref went over and saw slow-mo, and in the rules, it's if you're making your body bigger, isn't it, or making an advantage, and technically he was doing that. So yeah, it was given. It's probably the only way we were going to score. I think it's interesting on that Nunes stuff because I was going to agree with Dave and say that maybe that middle third, the build-up, it probably was one of our best performances. But yeah, it was just that final third, and that was sort of Nunes out of it. As you say, Nunes was almost up top. We sort of left him out of that. So it's interesting to see that he's playing a lot deeper against Chelsea, and he's obviously stolen the headlines or at least the videos with runs from deep. And now we've seen him up front, so very versatile at the very least. But yeah, going back to penalty, yeah, probably 50-50, but I'm going to argue it our way because it was.
What do you reckon of the Forest penalty?
Probably is a pen, and if he'd been warned or whatever, if you'd said you picked up on it before,
Mate, I thought if they looked at it, he was very lucky because we know when obviously like the jockeying, like the ball hadn't even come in. Like they were having two words, he just shoved him, and I was thinking you're inside the box, man. Like, and then he was like diving into tackles as well. I was like, someone's going to get sent off here. But it was a fiery game, wasn't it? And you want a bit of bite, but it's got to be controlled. But Jord, what were your takes on the penalty incidents, Wolves and Forest?
I thought, I thought ours was dubious. I think, like you say, probably was a penalty in terms of people who've played football know it probably isn't a penalty, but with VAR at the moment and making your body bigger, it possibly is. I think theirs was an absolute stonewall. Like so I picked up on it in the first half. Nunes, it was him and Ryan Yates, and I think it was Ryan Yates who fouled in the second half as well. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'll be honest with you, it was something I want to bring up in this podcast because I saw a few tweets and then about Nunes' performance and people saying, "Oh, you know, he's great and everything." Like, but I actually thought he was really poor on the weekend. Like,
I think he was great.
I thought he was really poor. He was really rash in some of his decision making. This isn't me saying he's a bad player, but at all, far from it. But I thought he was a bit of a liability on the weekend, and the penalty was no surprise for me that when it was given. And I think what I've seen of him now, he's just not a 10, is he? Like he's got to be playing deeper for me. Like you've got to find a system to accommodate where you're putting him a bit deeper where he's actually driving with the ball. Like you saw in the glimpses against Chelsea, I think he's a much better player playing in one of those more traditional 8 roles rather than as a 10. I don't think he's cute enough of what I've seen so far, or wants to be playing that far up the pitch. I think he wants to be running on to, like, having the ball and driving with it rather than being one trying to run into space and stuff. So that's my only thing about Nunes at the minute. I think the system doesn't suit him at the moment, so we need to probably work that one out.
No, I mean, at Sporting, he was in the double pivot with Payne, wasn't he? They were excellent together, which is, Neves is a similar player to Payne, probably less physical, but overall a much better footballer. But yeah, I agree. I didn't want to go in on him. No, well, I think you summed it up exactly what I was thinking. I
might be wrong, but I think he might have given the ball away, which led to the Forest corner as well, that they scored from, because which they got the penalty from, because we were mucking about with it in the middle. It might have been Neves. It was Neves or Nunes lost the ball, just took way too long on the ball. Johnny then got beat on his side, and then Totti sliced it over the bar. And then the resulting corner was where we gave it away. But on VAR, not necessarily VAR, but obviously in the ground they were saying they were checking the foul. But then on all the highlights, they were showing Adama's like handball, where it sort of hit his chest and hit his arm. So I think it could have got given for either, to be honest. But you were saying about that Yates. I think it was in the second half. Martini had to do with him as well, where they were pushing and shoving each other off the ball. So I think we just got to make sure we don't. Yes, someone gave us a question a week or so ago about, does this team have any fight? Do they care? And I think they showed that a lot more on Saturday, but in some sense, it's probably a little bit too much.
I think Joe Hodge is looking up to get a red as well.
Mate, I watched that.
That tackle is horrendous. Yeah. He's lucky it's the last kick of the game, and Forest just want to get on with it, because if he rolls around on the floor and that's a red card all day. See how he took him? Reckless. It's awful. It's fantastic. But
there was a send off last year. I can't remember. Was it Villa? Was a Villa player get sent off for something similar?
It was Alan, wasn't it? Against
Alan, Alan
versus Newcastle, weren't it?
It was just on a breakaway, and that was similar, wasn't it? And literally, they sent him off. And I'm the same as you. I think that Joe Hodge tackle, he's being applauded for it because, rightly so. Yeah, it's a bit of shit out there. But I think it's a red card in today's game.
Did you see the PSG one yesterday?
He didn't touch that, did he? It was
similar. In terms of tackle, it was a similar tackle, but he didn't touch Neymar, but the guy got sent off, didn't he? Yeah.
Do you remember that one? It was in I think was it Leroy Fer when we played Swansea, and all he did was just trip him up on it. Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, ignore me then. But it's because Hodge definitely isn't going for the ball easy either. So they often say, if you've got no intent and you do that, then
they should be punished more tackles like that, though. To be fair,
I think so as well. There's a difference between a cynical foul and just chopping someone down. Like if he's pulled him back, which Gibbs White should have been booked for in the first half, by the way. But a yellow card as long as I got a hole up my arse. But that I agree. I think those kind of tackles should be a red, because they're not. You're not taking one for you're literally just chopping someone down.
You're not playing ball, are you? That's the thing.
No, not at all. But you look at the Emerson Royale tackle against Martinelli. I don't think that's a red card at all.
No.
You were sitting on the fence because we were in Bruges, weren't we, Dave, at the time watching it?
I thought it was a nasty tackle. It probably wasn't enough for a red, but it was horrible, man. The studs down the back of the
Achilles.
Down the back of the leg there. Horrible.
I don't know. I don't think it's a red.
No. But I think that Emerson Royale one's more clumsy. Hodge knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
Emerson don't mean that. He's just
the Emerson one. It's a yellow for the foul and a second yellow for being a dreadful footballer. That's what
you do. Dave Toty looks a little bit shaky, didn't he?
Yeah, but I saw again. That was another thing that was quite mixed on social media. I expected that. I was never going to expect an immaculate performance from him. I think what he needed to do, he did okay.
That clearance in the second half.
In the first half, I think he got called once where we had a decent spell of possession and he sort of miscontrolled it. And they went. I think it was Brennan Johnson had a counter attack. But other than that, he played very, very safe, which I expected anyway. That slice in the second half, which sort of led to the penalty as well. But other than that, I think it is what it is. He's not done enough to keep his place. Collins, will definitely come straight in, I think, against Palace. But yeah, one of those. I don't think it was horrific, but it wasn't. It wouldn't fill me with confidence if I had to rely on him for many more games.
Well, this is the thing. This is what we've been saying, that they need to bring in another centre half, and I've said previously I don't really rate him. I think he's half decent backup, which is what he's coming as. I mean, physically, if you get him in a 1v1, he's excellent. But it's when he's got time to think about something and on the ball, like every single pass was like back to Sarr, like undercooked, like not putting enough on him. He could have, played us into trouble a fair bit. But I suppose he's nervous, and he's not played that much football either. But Davies was putting a bit of faith in the youth as well, hasn't he? And gave Bueno his debut, brought Hodge on. Do you reckon he's just trying to bump the contracts up when you make your first senior appearance?
Yeah, he might have done. I remember there's a story about Neil Warnock where he speaks to his players and says, right, what's your appearance fee? And he goes, right, I'm going to bring you on for 2 minutes and I want half of your appearance fee, basically. And I'm sure he got done for it, though. But no, it's good. I mean, Hodges got one under him, which was a bit of a shock last week. And then Bueno as well. When we had 2 wing backs already on the pitch, so we could have so easily put Semedo or Johnny back on the other side. But yeah, it showed good faith for them in such a crucial, few minutes left in the game as well. I think there was meant to be 8 added. There was closer to 10 in the end. Yeah, it's good that he's putting faith in these young players, and obviously it's moments that they're going to remember for the rest of their careers as well.
Do you reckon that's what Nuno did with Cristobal at Villa away?
Oh, mate, 100%, mate. That was more than just money. I don't know. I still I don't know if many people know that story, but Flavio Cristobal, most people listening to the podcast have probably never heard of him. He made his debut in the Carabao Cup defeat against Aston Villa, barely kicked a ball the rest of the season for the 23s, and it turns out he was Nuno's godson. Now plays, I think, maybe 4th division football in Portugal. What a golden handshake that was, man.
Oh, mate. He'd probably bring you back, though, if he got the job. Give him the armband. It's all part of the
I'm sure
plan,
there's got to be a court case there somewhere, and that is not right.
I suppose it's one of them things that you turn a blind eye to, don't you, when you're doing well.
But then, by the same token, why was there pictures of Pedro Goncalves and Nuno's daughter, and he never got a sniff, and he was way better?
True. I mean, he didn't get a sniff of the team. He might have got a sniff at Nuno's daughter.
Well, that's the rumour, isn't it? Yeah. That's the rumour.
Well, there is a photographic evidence of them two together, not anything else.
It was in a group. But,
yeah. But wasn't Wilfried Zaha David Moyes' daughter? Yeah.
That was Patrice Everett that said that, and he had to like retract his comments, didn't he?
He's an idiot. What did you think of the booing of Gibbs White thing? I know he came over to the North Bank, and I clapped because, like,
of course we do in the North Bank.
Yeah, as you do, clap and leave an 80. But
yeah, good day's work. But it wasn't very coordinated. Like, it would have been confusing for him because you've got cheering from one side, booing from another. I think it was always going to be like performance related. I think regardless, like when he shanked a free kick over, it was always going to be way. But I don't think it necessarily deserved boos. I saw some pictures. I know Bolly didn't get a kick either, but some pictures of Bolly and at the end of the game, and all the players were pretty warm.
He's all over the players at the end.
Yeah. So it's a confusing one all round. I was sort of neutral. I gave him a little clap when he came to that corner, and I think I booed him when he didn't get booked for that one. So that was about it. So a bit of both, but there's no. I don't know. I'm on the fence on that one. There's no clear side. He hasn't forced a move, has he? But I think he's going to.
He didn't sign a new deal.
Great point. Yeah, but look at the karma he's having now. He's going to go down. So.
You know what, though? I didn't boo him, but I'm glad people did because it really added a bit of bite to the game.
Yeah.
And I think without Costa as well, which we'll come on to, I think it would have been missing. But, Jord, it's nice to have someone who's brought, probably for the first time in 2 years, almost like a connection back with the fans in Diego Costa. He stretched the play and he was a focal point. He didn't do much, but he didn't have much to do. But just to have him riling people up, what he did to Dean Henderson in the second half was always his stitches. But that's what you need, man. You need someone you can get behind.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? He's one of those players that he's going to get unite the fans. And we've said it many times in this podcast since I've been on here. Like, it's been flat for a long time, probably since COVID, the stadium. And I think people and personalities like Diego Costa is going to get the fans rejuvenated and galvanised and get behind the team. And, like I've said, if he comes away with 6-7 goals a season, we're laughing. But he's got a connection with the fan base already. Granted, I still think, I don't think he did a lot on Saturday. I don't think he did a lot wrong, but I don't think he necessarily offered a lot. But, the Henderson stuff was good. He left one on Steve Cook as well, didn't he? In the second half, which was, again, just those little things really that we've been missing. We were far too nice as a football team, and I'm not saying you need to go out and snot people like Joe Hodge did, but you do need, you know what I mean? Like it's that cute stuff, and like when we're trying to run down the game, he was very clever with it. And yeah, like I'm so glad that we've got him. Even if it's for 12 months, I'm happy that he's at the club because I think he's going to go down as a bit of a cult hero.
Yeah, Dave, it was nice to see Willy Bolly turn up for work for once, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. I was disappointed. Part of me was disappointed that he didn't play because I thought he would drop an absolute stinker. But
it shows that how highly they rate him when 53-year-old pub landlord Steve Cook is playing ahead of him.
Just imagine we had if Guedes was fit and maybe on form, him on the last man against them pair because they just look sluggish, and we just didn't take advantage of that. Between him and Costa in a foot race, like Steve Cook and Costa, I think it would have been tight, but I think Costa would have nicked it. But I'm disappointed that he didn't play. But like I said, I saw him at the end, hugging, and I was like, "Who's this?" Yeah, celebrating with the players in the middle. I think he got the wrong team at one point. But no.
Oh, bloody Willy Bolly! Before we move on to Palace Wolves, it wasn't just the only win of the weekend for us. So I actually finished 12th on the Betmate pot, which I took home a massive £7.60. A little bit pissed off actually though, because the lads at Betmate tweeted that I was notoriously bad. Where we don't get many winners, but I think I've probably won the most in the Wolves pot overall. I know Jord had a good couple of weeks, but I've been playing it longer than you. Yeah. So if I'm notoriously bad, what's Finn? Hey. But I captained Neves, and he got 18 points, and I vice captained Mitro, and he scored, didn't he? So I got 10.5. However, it wasn't the only win, and they didn't win as much as me, but Dave came 29th and won £2.80. Yeah. And Finn came 35th and won £2.12. So Finn took home £10.12 at the weekend, didn't you, Finn? What have you spent it on?
I'm putting it into savings, I think.
Okay, stocks and shares
with the interest rates, So, that's a big weekend for me. I mean, that's my stakes now for what? Then at the rest of the season. So,
a couple of £1.
Bet responsibly, kids.
I had to accept cookies to see where Jord was on the table.
You know what, though? I came out playing, and so I went heavy Wolves and Fulham. I had Saar, then I had double clean sheet as well. But I captained Mateus, and he was, like I said, part of shot.
Killed you, yeah.
And I had Mitrovic as well. So I come out thinking, I've definitely cashed here. And I was scrolling down, and I was like, where the fuck am I? Did I enter? And then I'll just.
I didn't think you'd entered when I was looking at the results earlier.
I forgot to change my team at the start, so I had Semedo. So if I started somebody else there, I would have finished a lot higher. And because I put Adama in, I had Mitro on the bench. If I had Mitro, I would have finished 10 places higher straight away. But I had captain Philip Billing, who had a good game, and Solanke. So both
I got Billing as well.
I had Billing.
I had Saar in goal as well, which was like 12 points.
I was saying it at the ground, when I always celebrate Molyneux when things happen in other games because they're on my Betmate, and everyone's like, you got me in your FPL. I was like, nah, mate, Betmate, come on now.
Betmate.
I had Danny Ward in my FPL. No one could believe it.
Brennan Lodi didn't play. I've just realised. Zero. Yeah, and my guy on the bench didn't play either. Brilliant. So that was
I don't know what people, when Brennan Lodi was going to Forest, we were saying, why aren't we linking him? Because he's fucking dreadful. There's a reason why he's
when people just play FIFA.
Yeah, that's what he's a good FIFA card, on it. But if he ain't getting in over Harry Toffolo, there's a problem. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there is. Right, chaps. Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. By the time this goes out, it will be tonight. Dave, it's a real tough place to go, isn't it? Selhurst Park. Vieira's got them playing some nice stuff, but they've only got 1 win in 5. What do you reckon? What's the expectation?
It's tough. I think if we can go there and just get a positive result, whether that's a point or obviously a win would be great. But if we could just remain unbeaten now for a few games at least. But yeah, it's a tough game. We haven't got great form against them recently. I think, saying that, we lost both games last season 2-0. And I couldn't remember the one at Molyneux, and there's probably a reason why, because when I actually looked into it, we were absolutely dreadful. I think it was in March of this year. It's when Mateta, I think Sarr and someone had a mix-up, didn't they? And Mateta sort of had a tap in, and then Zaha scored a penalty. So it was one of those unforgettable games. But yeah, I think I spoke to a Palace fan earlier today, and I was looking at their transfer window is very, very quiet. I think they only signed 4 new players, and 2 of those were free transfers. So, and they've lost Gallagher. So they've got good players there, very physical team. So we've got our midfield are going to have to be on their best. I think we can out football them, keep the ball, but it is going to be that physical battle. Because, if we can keep fit for 70, 80 plus minutes, we should be all right. But they've got some huge players, skillful players as well.
Yeah, I know Steve Davies said they've got a lot of athletic players, which never normally goes down well. He said they've got some good footballers, but it's true. Like they're a big side,
like dynamic
as well.
midfielders.
Yeah, like dynamic midfielders. Yeah, but it's true. Like they've got pace everywhere, and they're strong, but like they're also very good at football. But Finn, what's the expectation for you? I mean, I still think Saturday more than papers over the cracks. I think we're really going to struggle. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think every time we've been there since we've been promoted, you've got the ability to out football them, and I think we only came away with a result that first season with that Jord goal, but especially last season,
last minute under 1-1.
Oh, of course, that was when we were in really bad form as
well,
Of course,
yeah, I was in Europe for that.
Catrone and Jota, those were the days. But no, last season I'm just scarred. I think, especially from last season. I think the midfield was like Gallagher, Schlupp, Kiate or something. And we just didn't get a sniff. Yeah. It felt like such a small pitch as well. I don't know whether it's because of where you are in that away end, but yeah, I just don't have, combined with the recent performances, an unconvincing win and the sort of Selhurst vibe that I get. Although I do have sort of positive things from AFC Richmond. They'd be much nicer to play at the same ground. But no, not expecting much. But they seem like, I always have Palace like on this sort of pedestal because they always do well against us, but then they're not actually doing that great this season.
I was shocked when I looked at the table.
Yeah, I'm always like that because they always do well against us. I think, probably lower top half. And they never are, so maybe I'm
because they always win a game, and then like Arsenal fans are like, oh my god, Vieira, Palace are so good to watch. And so like then we forget like the 4 games after that where they drop points and actually go nowhere in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got more points in the last 5 games than they have. Yeah, they've won 1, drew 3. Well, same amount of points, sorry. But you wouldn't think that. The media have got a real loving, haven't they, for like Vieira? And I think to an extent, Gerrard gets a bit of a pass as well because he's been absolutely gash this season. And for like since Beale left him to go.
I think Gerrard's under a lot of pressure going into the World Cup, He needs
mate, I think he's a lot of pressure going into the rest of the week. Yeah, I don't think his. Remember when the Villa fans are going on about his aura and stuff? Ain't it funny, man, how football changes? So I don't. He's Rita. Jord, you're going to the game, aren't you, tomorrow with our Dave? Are you going, Finn?
No, I was going to, and if anyone needs 4 tickets now, I just can't. I don't want to drive, and there isn't space on the coach for you two, is there? But
probably. I mean, Jord's in London. There might be space on the coach. I can ask in the morning if you want to go.
Well, possibly, but
let's take this one
off tomorrow. Anyway, we'll talk that after. Probably no.
What a chat we're having.
No, so know what? Yeah, I am going. But I think Palace gave us 2 of our most convincing defeats last season in terms of performance. Like, I just feel that, like I say, you look at it man for man, you feel like, you know what, we could probably technically out football them a little bit. But they always just seem to beat us. And I think they're a very powerful, good footballing team. I think they've got some really good players, like Eze, massively underrated for me as a footballer. Zaha, Elise is another one. But I feel like that you can get at them. And that fullbacks, if you look at who they've been playing fullback recently, and it's been like Nathaniel Klein and Joel Ward. And for me, Klein's injured now, and they put back Tyreek Mitchell in. I think that's a big battle tomorrow, is Adama versus Tyreek Mitchell. I really think that, because he's been well off the boil since he had that England cap. And I feel like if you can get the ball to Traoré early, peg him back a little bit, that's where he can win or lose the game tomorrow. But I think realistically, you just take a point there, don't you, tomorrow? 100%.
What have you told the missus? Have you told her you're working away?
No,
You have,
no.
You're a proper whip, man. It's so joke.
I'm not proper whip. You're on about? No.
Matt always makes out there.
Yeah, Matt always makes out.
What I mean, look how red he's gone. He's like a beef tomato.
Yeah. Tracker on at 9:30.
Yeah, I'll be posting a letter for your roof. You're going in redder.
Nah, down there in work and stuff. So down for.
So you have told her you're going to work.
Well, I'm going to work. What you on about? You're going to work? No, you what? I'm going. Sorry, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going to the game as well. I don't need to make up an excuse for going to the game.
It's all right. I think you've more than compensated.
Yeah. It's not right. Yeah.
Oh, he loves it. He absolutely loves it. I mean, you have been married at least 28 years now, so it's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
You know what, though? He's not biting.
This was a no nibble zone. Fair play to you, pair, though, for going down 8:15 kickoff. I'd have to take annual leave, and I can't hold my hands up. I can't be arsed. And fair play to everyone else who's going down, because it's a long journey at that time, especially
the train strikes as well.
I think there's a little bit. Yeah,
it's not back to normal, is it? But yeah, fair play to those going down tomorrow. I've got a lot of respect for it. Betmate pot, lads. It's a big pot. It's a massive pot, and I'm feeling. I don't know. I'm feeling fruity. I'm feeling like after the finish of the. You what, mate?
You're in form.
I am. I'm in form. But I'm a confidence player. Once you get to one, that's it. The wins keep coming. So this game, it's just a Palace versus Wolves pot, and it's on the homepage. If anyone wants to join, it's £3 in for your chance to win £600. Now, if you've not signed up to Betmate yet, you can do so using our link in the description. And when you stake a cash bet, you'll also get a £5 free bet. And of course, with all of this, be gamble aware, but I'm feeling like I'm going to have a good game again. So let me talk you through my team. So I've gone with Gaeta in goal because I can't see us scoring. I've gone Palace heavy. It's just that the forward line is Palace because I just think they're a lot more dangerous than us at the minute. I've gone with Collins at the back. I think he'll come in and have a good game. I've gone for Anderson. And I've got midfield 2 of Mateus, as he's now known, and Ruben Neves vice captain. Then Jordan Ayew and Wilfried Zaha as captain up top. Zaha always causes us problems. He's one of those players that I just cannot stand. And usually with players I cannot stand, they end up doing bits against us. So that's the methodology that I'm going through. Dave, talk us through your winning team, mate.
Yeah, well, I've gone with Sarr in goal as well. Aït-Nouri, I think he played really well. We haven't really mentioned that. He played really well on Saturday. With Collins returning at the back. Nunes, or Mateus, with Neves. I've gone Neves captain for now. And I've gone with Diego Costa up top alongside Wilf Zaha as my vice. I just quickly looked at the history of the two teams, by the way, of our games, and we played them 4 times behind closed doors, and we won 3 of them. So maybe half the walls end empty might bode well for us.
Maybe
that was Aït-Nouri, wasn't it? The one time,
on his debut.
Yeah. It was like an October, November where everyone was like, he's the best player ever, and then he dropped an absolute stinker against Leicester the next game. He was absolutely awful.
Yeah. Project Restart, but he beat him in October and then beat him in the FA Cup as well.
Good armour banger, wasn't it? Yeah.
Left footer.
I like your team, Dave. Finn, can you talk me through yours, please?
Yeah, I've gone with Jord's famous tactic of go all in, and I've gone all in on Wolves. So I've got Sarr, Collins, Aït-Nouri. Collins currently with a little warning sign, which I've got PTSD over. But I've gone with him anyway. And then I've got Podence, who, speaking of form players, I thought he was looking a little bit better. His back heel success rate, at least, was up at the weekend. So I've captained him at the moment.
Okay.
Probably a niche one. But, I mean, if the 600 quid on the line, like, I want to be top, because
no
one else has got this team.
Yeah.
I've gone for Eze in midfield, who seems to be playing a bit deeper. So hopefully a few tackle interception points as well. Hopefully not any, goal contributions. But, you know what I mean? And then Costa and Traore, the famous duo up top. So I've gone all in on Wolves. Vice captain Traore.
Jord, are you going to enter this week or?
No, I'm going to try and win it, mate. Yeah, I'm going to try and win it. So I've gone with Wolves heavy, even though I'm not that confident. But in for a penny, out for a pound, as I say. So Jose I've gone with Collins and Aitnery. Again, I agree with Dave. I thought Aitnery had a really, really solid game on the weekend. I've gone with Mateus, as I always do, with Decore from Palace, and I'm going balls out Adama Traore, captain.
Yes.
And Diego, vice captain. And the reason for Traore captain is I do feel like the fullbacks are gettable, and I think that Mitchell's been having a tough time, and I think if we get the ball to him early, he come up with something. So, yeah, Captain Adama.
Do you know what? Reading these teams out has made me realise, on Saturday they started going back to announcing the team while the teams were out on the pitch, didn't they? With the graphics. I think that builds the atmosphere a lot nicer because I feel like it's a bit dead. I had the CO2 cannons as well coming out the tunnel. Don't know if anyone else saw that. Felt like a real carnival atmosphere. Just a shame the performance was shit. But that just reminded me of that. But that's the pot for tonight's game. If you're listening on Tuesday, if you're listening on Wednesday, don't bother entering because it won't be there. But it'll be on the homepage. £3 in, and your chance to win £600. If you've not signed up to Betmate, please use our link in the description below, and you'll get a free £5 bet, which is like a cash bet. And with that, please gamble aware. Now it's a double game week for the Wanderers boys, Dave. We face Leicester on Sunday. Surely anything but 3 points is a failure.
I don't know, because they're still a tough team to play against. I don't think it'd be a failure. I think the week would be a failure if we get nothing out of the two games. But I think again, if we can beat Palace, I think I'd take a point against Leicester. If we can get 4 points out of the next two, I'd be very happy. I think, considering the position and situation that we were in. But yeah, you look at their talent now. They've still got Vardy. I don't know how fit he is. Madison's I did watch him a couple of weeks ago, and I thought he was dreadful. And then he had a really good game a week or so ago. I think he was against Brighton when they got smashed just before Potter left. Madison was awful. But they've got quality players there. And again, they're another one of those teams where you look at it and you think, when is it just going to click for them? But Rodgers is under a bit of pressure. Confidence for them is really low. And we do all right against them at home, I think, as far as I can remember. We beat them last season, definitely. We've had a couple of great games against them over the years. Got to be a tight game. But I'll take a point, depending on, obviously, what happens against Palace.
How about if we get a draw at Palace? What do you reckon? Do you reckon you're happy with a point?
It just depends on performances. I wouldn't be angry at points. I wouldn't be angry. It obviously depends on other results as well. As long as we're still grinding out results, grinding out points, I'm not overly fussed.
We might have a new manager by then, Dave.
Possibly. Who knows? I think if we beat Palace tomorrow,
I think they'll give him the job. I do. No. I think until the World Cup. I think if they beat Palace tomorrow, I'll give him the World Cup.
I've got a feeling they'll get very close to the World Cup. But yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute.
Yeah, Jeff's going to come into the office and say, Steve, we're not going to make you the kit man, unfortunately. They give you a first team coach. Because that's what he said today, didn't he? If they called me in and said, do you want to be the kit man, I'd still do it because I love the club. He's saying all the right things, but please, look, don't get
imagine being the kit man. That's my job, that shit.
Yeah. Whoa. You better make space for another kit man. To be fair, though, now they've got that big banner that they've passed over the South Bank. They're going to need another kit man, aren't they, to wash that? I bet that's going to stink by the end of the season. I remember the Sporting Bet one used to reek in the North Bank, and one they used to pass over. Was it Sport? Yeah, it was a Sporting Bet one, wasn't it?
Had the Akimi one a few years ago, didn't they? That was
yeah. Finn, what's your thoughts for the game with Leicester? I know the Palace game kind of changes things, but looking at it now, do you think anything but 3 points is a bad result?
Yeah, just as we were talking, I got up the Premier League table to look at Leicester's sort of for and against. I'm just looking now. We've conceded half the goals.
This is one of the worst records in Premier League history.
Yeah, it's the 24 goals they've conceded in 10 games. Forest have conceded one less, and we managed one whole goal against them. But basically, my point is that they've scored
from
15. They've scored 15. We've scored 4. So we're much tighter defensively. But my head just goes to backing the team that can score goals. And even if they let a load in, we can't seem to score them. So it doesn't seem to combine very well for us. But maybe, I know Leicester very weak off set pieces. So maybe there's a glimmer. They're 19th, but yeah, my head is instantly saying that I'm not looking forward to it because we're playing a team that can score and they might be leaky, but I don't think we can take advantage at the moment, unfortunately.
I think if you win tonight, which I'm not convinced we will, then I think that we go into that game full of confidence, thinking, look, we've actually turned a bit of a page here. And once the confidence is flowing, we may be able to get a result. But, Jord, briefly, what are your thoughts on the Leicester game? Do you think they could be managerless by then? I know they play Thursday against Leeds, so they might be goosed as well coming into Sunday.
No, I don't think they'll be managerless. I think it's really toxic there because you can tell Rodgers don't want to be there. And
£10 million payout as well.
Whatever it is, that payout. It's just really toxic there. And I was listening to a few Leicester fans on TalkSport, and yeah, it's really bad there. It sounds really, really bad. I think they've got players that can hurt you, no doubt. You've got Maddison, Barnes, Tielemans. On paper, they've got a good team. I think centre halves have been decimated. And they're, FaZe and Amati played on the weekend. I know they kept a clean sheet against Palace, funnily enough, but they're easily gettable for me. And Danny Ward, statistically the worst goalkeeper in Premier League history, I think, as well. To say, I just think it's one of those things. I think you look at Leicester, and I think it's a dangerous game. So I think they've got talent in that team, and I know they're not a team. I think it's a false position, but with everything that's going on with Rodgers at the moment, it's toxic, and hopefully he's still in charge, because I think that gives us a better chance than him not being there, if I'm honest with you. So hopefully he's still in the job come Sunday.
Hopefully, mate. The Betmate pot for this game isn't live, so we haven't been able to pick our teams, but please do keep your eye on it. It's a Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff, and it'll be £2 in for your chance to win the share of £400. So, again, 2 big pots in the space of a week. You could be going over a share of £1,000 if you place on both of them. So, let's see, and good luck. Discussion this week, lads. Again, I know we're harping on about it, but it has to be around the vacant managerial position at Wolves, Dave. The Times this evening are reporting that Wolves have whittled down a short list of 3 managers, with a decision expected to be made this week. What are your thoughts, Dave? Who do you think the 3 are? Beale, Nuno, and Stevie Bull?
The decision could be that we don't make a decision until the World Cup, but like you've already said, and I genuinely think we beat Palace. We
won't.
Come on, if we beat Palace, all right, we beat Palace and Leicester, 9 points. We're talking about Europa League again.
How many goals, Dave, to give him the job?
No, we're not doing this.
No.
Do you not think it's a bit weird that no one's even mentioned that he could get the job? I know he's not going to, but
do you think it'd be a permanent contract or just till the World Cup? Surely it'd just be one of them.
Anyway, I think possibly not up until the break, but they'll wait as long as they can. I think if they can, I think it'll be this time next week if they were to announce anything, because I can't see you doing it sort of in between these games. I think the turnaround is again too tight. But I don't think Nuno will be one of those 3. If that report is correct, I don't think Nuno will be one of those 3. I think Beale will be one of them, which is weird because bar the Express and Star, not many people have reported it as of yet. And there was a lot of whispers. I was sent things over the weekend, a lot of whispers from people outside the Wolves space that were talking about it. And obviously, we've had discussions about it. I think it would be a big risk to get someone like that in. But I think if you do it closer to the World Cup and the club are in a good position by the World Cup, I think obviously he has a lot more time to work with players that's there, a lot more time to figure out how he wants to play, a lot more time to discuss with the board any potential transfer options. And he is, like we've said, a very highly rated coach. The other one is obviously Gallardo. I'm not going to pretend like a lot of people on Twitter that I know much about him. I know he's a very successful manager and won a lot of trophies, but I'm not sure on how he plays. It's something that I would have to look into if that becomes an option. But I don't even know if he speaks English. So I don't know if that would be an option for Wolves. But the favourite changes every couple of days, doesn't it? So for me, Beale is the obvious one of those 3, but I don't know who else will be linked at the minute, if I'm honest.
I like the
maybe
idea
Lopetegui situation. They'll revisit come closer to Christmas.
I like the idea of Beale, but again, I think with any appointment there's a risk, but there seems more of a risk with this. But I think there's also more that it's high risk, high reward, isn't it? He's one of the, and I did have to clarify my tweet because I tweeted on Saturday night. He's one of the highest rated coaches in the country. What I meant by that is one of the highest rated English coaches. he did excellent with Rangers under Gerrard, and you had the likes of Emi Martinez come out and said within 10 or 15 years of my playing career, I've never met anyone with as much knowledge about football as Michael Beale. It's tactically very astute, but Finn, and we've seen it so many times. Graham Potter is the example of it working well, but you've seen so many assistant managers or managers come from the Championship and get a job in the Premier League, and it just doesn't work. It's all right being tactically astute, but then you've got to manage a group of players which he's probably never had to manage before, with big personalities. It is a big risk, but it could be big reward too.
Yeah, he is one of those ones that, I mean, I'd say before a few weeks ago, I'd vaguely heard of him until QPR were doing quite well. I know we were saying in our chat earlier that I listened to a podcast with a QPR fan on, and the amount he'd been raving about him, I had taken note. And I remember there was an article came out a while ago saying he's the secret behind Gerrard. And as a man that had a massive agenda with like loads of Villa supporting friends, I was like, Gerrard's a fraud. It's all this other guy. So it was nice to see that he left, and then QPR were like sitting top for albeit probably like a week in that mental Championship at the moment. But from what I've heard, and I know people are biased, but what James, the QPR fan, was saying, he's going to be England manager. Like the way he's got us playing is unbelievable to watch. So he was saying there's a player, maybe if we're looking at transfers, and this is going a bit far, but Chris Willock, the brother of Joe, that he probably bring with him. Apparently he's got a real bond with him. So I know I've only heard positive things, and I've seen a very biased perspective of him, but everything I've heard, it does have that story of the start of the feeling of the start of a real success story. And if we give him that place, I don't know how old he is. I don't know how old he's been.
The early 40s, maybe something like that.
Is he? 40s.
He started his coaching. When I was editing on Saturday, I watched. He did a little half an hour podcast with I think Sportsman on YouTube. It's quite worth watching. But obviously, he came from like a youth coaching setup, and he said that when he used to go abroad with Chelsea under 12s and under 13s, he'd do tournaments, and anyone that played well in the tournaments, he'd write their names down. So like 10 years later, he was signing these players that he'd written down in this book like 10 years ago. Like he said, like I don't know if it was for Villa, but at QPR as well. He was recommended to the chairman. He'd check if they're all right. He wasn't going to sign someone based on what they were like as a 12-year-old, but he kept tabs on all these players for like the last 10 years of how they were getting on, and he was signing young players like based on that still. So I think we've still got. I know we've got older players, but we've still got a good amount of younger players. I think it'd be really intriguing. And he speaks Portuguese as well. Because
we said with Bruno, wasn't it? The youth side of things. But
that was my only concern, that it almost seemed like a whole Bruno Lage thing over again. So but this one intrigues me a bit more though.
There is risk involved with its high reward. He was assistant at Sao Paulo, which is why he speaks Portuguese. Managed Liverpool under 23s before being assistant at Rangers and Villa with Gerrard. I know that in an interview I saw with Emi Martinez, the one I've cited previously, he said, I've never really seen it where a manager and assistant manager are both basically running a team. He said it's usually one or the other, but he said that they were both as much as involved as each other. And I think Gerrard said I'd have to have coached and managed for 25, 30 years to know as much as I know about this guy, which is all well and good, and it's all, it's great to hear, and it's good that we've been linked with these kind of people, and it makes me feel like the board have got a bit more of a contingency plan. I'm still not convinced at all.
Steady, yeah.
But Jord, what would your thoughts be on Beale before we move on to Nuno?
I mean, for me, it's just exciting. It's just different, isn't it? Like, I'm a bit sick and bored of being linked with, we had Nuno, then it was Bruno, and then it was potentially, back to Nuno, or even, Carlos Carvalho, all these random, Pedro Martins, all these like Portuguese managers, and just like, it's just different, isn't it? And I think with Michael Beale, it's exciting. Like that QPR team. I mean, I've seen some dreadful takes again on social media, like, "Oh no, I've never heard of him, so he can't be any good." Like that QPR team, man for man, there's no stars in that team. There's no like household names, and I'm playing good football. They're up there on a limited budget. Like for me, you look at some of the comments. Like Emi Martinez, you forget about this. Like he's been coached by Wenger. Like he's been, you know what I mean? He's been in around the Arsenal himself for years, and he's come out with comments like that. For me,
And Kenny Jackett.
I'm going to say, Kenny Jackett.
Yeah, exactly. So, but honestly, I feel like it's a really good, exciting appointment, and sometimes you need to take a bit of a risk to get that reward. And I feel like Beale's someone that if we don't take the risk on him, someone else is going to, and they'll probably see the fruits of that. And I feel like there's a few of us in that sort of, who've got. I always think of, I'm surprised no one's coming for Pep Linders from Liverpool as well, because again, he's like the brain, isn't he?
I think he'd be holding out for like a Europa League at least, though, because he's at Liverpool, isn't he?
But I mean, like these sort of like coaches who you come about and you hear like sound bites about, and you think someone's actually going to take a gamble or a punt on this person. It's going to work out really well. So, I put Beale in that camp. I feel like if we get him back in, I think it's a really good, solid appointment. Honestly, I really do.
My concern with it is the involvement with Mendes, how that would work, the dynamic if you appoint someone like Beale. Does a young, progressive, forward-thinking coach with a big potential, potentially, want to come into Wolves where he's told he's got to sign this player, you can only sign from this stable, you can't sign him because he's not on our books? Whether that's the case or not, but Dave, is that something that worries you a little bit?
A little bit. I think with Beale coming in, and it obviously for him it is a massive step up. And I think, and it was the same with Lage. I said this the same at the start of last season. He will come into this, I would think, being, I don't want to say completely a yes man, but I think he will, he's a head coach at the end of the day. So he isn't, yes, he can say it, right, I need this player, but he's not the manager. He's not a manager rather. So he's not going to have, a huge amount of say on the transfers. I think this whole large situation and saga will teach Fosun a lesson. And I think they tried to do that a little bit more in the last transfer window with signings like Kalajdzic to sort of try and come. I know that one hasn't worked out as of yet, but to try and come away from the Mendes model. But I don't know. I think there can be a happy medium. I'm still like, there was a Neves story out yesterday. People saying, right, let's get rid of Mendes. All right, let's get rid of Mendes. So we'll sell Neves, we'll sell Jose Sá, we'll sell Prudence. You're never going to be able to just bin him off. But the same, we do need to find that happy medium. And I think someone like Beale would be able to do that. But yeah, I don't think any manager that manages Wolverhampton Wanderers isn't going to be able to get full control over transfers. Regardless.
You know what scares me about Beale though? It's sort of like I'm getting a lot of flashbacks of Paul Clement. He's probably one of the best assistants.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Dean Saunders as well in regards to top of League One, which was the league below us at the time when we bring him in. Although Dean Saunders didn't have a great coaching.
If you've listened to him on TalkSport, you know this is nothing like Dean Saunders. Oh God, mate! If don't let Michael Beale say that, bloody hell, he'd be fuming. Before we get on to the questions, lads, I think it is important that we talk about Nuno. Got a lot of stick in the week for my tweet and being asked to go on TalkSport because, and again, I must stress this: it's not an attack on Nuno. What he did for the club in those 2 or 3 years was exceptional. The last year, not so much. Definitely needed a change. Players come out and said he needed a change. But to spend circa 110, 115 million pound in a transfer window to try and move away from his squad to then bring him back, Dave, it screams to me, if it's true, I must stress that the club don't really have a clue what they're doing with this.
Yeah. Like I said to you, I saw it was weird because I sort of warmed to it. Like my heart was saying I'd love to see him back.
I get it, he keeps us up, but
yeah, but that would be about it. My heart was saying I'd love to see him back because I think he almost has a point to prove still. But my head was saying no, and pretty much what you said. We spent over 12, 18 months trying to get away from what he'd sort of left. I'd say mess, but it wasn't really a mess. But the state he left the club in. And trying to come away from all his old principles with the back five and the quality of player and so on. So to bring him back again, just to revert maybe to the old ways, would have been crazy. I think he would have done an all right job, but it wasn't going to take us to the next level where we need to get to. So yeah, I'm part of me sort of glad it's gone quiet now on that front anyway. And people are asking me, do you think Nuno's coming back? Now I say no. Do you want to see him back? I wasn't bothered either way.
I was speaking to quite a few people on Saturday before the game in the concourse. So nice, not obviously nice to chat to people who listen to the channel, and the overarching kind of feeling from those who are, I don't know, maybe 35 plus, 40 plus was we love him, we want him back. The younger people that I spoke to were against it and wanted someone like a Giardo or a Postecoglou. Finn, where do you sit with this? It's always a sensitive one, isn't it? Because people idolise the bloke, rightly or wrongly. They would a lot of these people, if they caught him in bed with the missus, had probably took him in. But how do you feel about it? Would you welcome him back? Not as in like, oh, no, I don't want him, but do you think it'd be a sensible choice?
Yeah, I remember saying last week that it felt a little bit too soon to do the sort of, oh, he's back sort of thing. Because I would welcome it. And as I said last week as well, like he's given me like the best. It was giving a lot of people the best period of
course,
being a Wolves fan. But as you say, there's layers to it in that it clearly wasn't planned. It's very reactionary, not proactive. Like you were saying on the radio, you put it very well, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank
Matt,
you, mate. When Simon Jordan questioned me, and I thought, oh, shit.
I know.
He went, yeah, that's fair enough. I was like, get it.
Mate, I'd rather have approval from Simon Jordan than like my parent. Honestly, when you got the seal of approval. God, yeah, what a bloke. But no, it just reeks of no forward planning. Good luck playing a back five with the current squad that we've put in place, and then a back four under Nuno was chaos. So probably wouldn't fit now for many reasons. But I would never kick off if they reappointed Nuno like the best manager in my lifetime. So it is a strange one.
Yeah, and like in my lifetime, he's been the best manager, and I keep stressing it. It's not an attack. It's not an attack on him. I don't want him back because I feel like it's a step backwards to go back to what we went to. But it still doesn't mean we can't appreciate what he did. But you think by some of the stuff, that's not what we're saying. Jord, what before we move on to the questions, I'm conscious of the time. Can you sum up what you think, what you thought when the rumours started circulating, and your thoughts on it currently?
I thought it was reek to the club who didn't know what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
that were even getting linked with him. And for me, I don't want any part of it. Like I still don't, even if it come back full circle that Nuno's now the front runner, I'd be against it. And that, again, you can appreciate the good times, but it's almost like what happens in boxing. And it's like with the rematch, tends to go the same way, but worse, quicker. So I think we'd appoint him. And by March, we'd all be bored out of our fucking brains again. Shouting for like a more aggressive style of football. I generally do. That's what I think would happen. I think he'd come in, keep us up, football would be turgid, we'd all be bored, and we'd be crying for a new manager for the next season to try and go again. And that's sort of how I feel with it. I feel like you should never go back. I really don't think you should do that. The only time I think it's worked in modern football that I can think of is Moyes going back to West Ham. Like, he's better second time round. They've gone back. West Ham fans didn't want him, but it's worked out. But I do generally feel like if you go back and appoint a manager, it's never going to be as good as the first time. And that first time was good on the whole. And I think just, it's done. Leave that chapter, close the book, and let's hopefully get Michael Beale in.
Yeah, I know. Someone said to me on Twitter, and I understand the point. He said if Nuno was still here at the start of the season, we'd be flying. Real wanted Zidane and Ancelotti back, and what happened there? And I was like, I get it, but like they've got 7 Champions Leagues between them. Like that, it's a little bit different. I know it's all relative. Maybe if Nuno would have won something like the FA Cup, which I'm not saying we'd have beaten City, but would have put up a better fight than Watford did. Maybe that would be different, but. Dave, I'll end with you. What do you think is going to happen the next couple of weeks?
It's hard to predict because there's just we're no clearer in regards to what's going to happen or what's going to go on. They're saying we'll know by the end of this week. Maybe Thursday, Friday, we have an announcement and the manager's there, the head coach is there over the weekend. But then there's other people saying that we are looking at a manager that's in a job. So, common sense would say they're going to try and hold out to the World Cup. So I think I really don't know what's going to happen. We get new news every day, every other day. The favourite changes every other day. I think I've not checked the bookies odds for a day or so, but I assume Nuno's still favourite on the bookies because just nobody knows what's going on. So I think a win against Palace will be a huge relief for everyone. And like I say, Jeff Shee as well will be, I think, breathing a huge sigh of relief, just buying him a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the odds now, accurate 5-9 on Monday evening. So Nuno favourite at 8-11, then Michael Beale at 6-4, and it really drifts over.
He's dropped a lot, Michael Beale.
Yeah, Gallardo 12s, Martins 14s, and then Lopetegui 16s with Jardim. Bo Svensson, Amorim Deutsch, and Ange Postecoglou are all 20s.
How many games, if ever Steve Davis manages the rest of the games, how many would he have managed? 7 or 8?
So obviously just
include the Leeds game as well.
6 left in there till the World Cup. Only that's FPL, so I think it'll be 8 games in total.
When the Leeds game.
If Steve Davis manages 10 or more, it classes him on like Bookies as a permanent manager. So a lot of people will lose their, because he's not. I don't even think he's on the, unless they've added him. He's not even
on the odds. No, he's not. He's not on the odds. It may be worth you doing a requester thing, Dave, and jump on. I'm banned from Sky Bet, so I can't use it.
I was going to phrase something quickly on here.
Go on then, mate.
You know what we're saying about we could actually be waiting out. Do you feel like there is a slight chance that we win tonight, as people will be listening to it, against Palace, and we get a positive result against Leicester? Do you feel like Fosun could look at it as a way to sort of give Lopetegui a window? Because we obviously know his dad's seriously ill. Don't want to wish anything bad on him, but it doesn't sound great. Like that could give Lopetegui.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you were saying when you said Winter. Then I thought, God, Winter will get rid of his dad.
No. You know what I mean, though. Like, is that another plan that Fosun are trying to play in the red a little bit? Do you think?
Could be.
I think it depends massively on the next couple of games. I really do. I've seen a few people saying it's nonsense. They haven't even got a shortlist. I don't know what they're doing. But
they will. I think it's probably not the way they wanted to play it, but with the Lopetegui rejection, I think they can. The more time they can buy, the better. Because I think it's just common sense that if you're after a good manager, most of the time a good manager is going to be already be in a job, and no one with 4 or 5 games left, is going to leave before the World Cup break. So I think it just makes sense.
Postecoglou, yes or no, Dave?
I don't know. I don't know enough about him, to be honest, to say yes or no.
I wouldn't mind him, mate.
Let's say I think he's done well wherever he's gone. To be fair, like I said, I don't know a huge amount about his style of play, but I'd say yes. With the others that we've been linked with, he's no worse than most of them.
4-2-3-1 mostly, so and quite attacking. Which in Scottish football, if you're Celtic, you'd expect that.
Yeah.
George, you like him, don't you?
Yeah, I just think he's like. I just like his demeanour. I like the football. Like I said last week, I feel like he got a really, the winning the league against a Rangers team that were the Europa League finalists last year. Can't take anything away from that. He's got them into a Champions League group for the first time in a very, very long time as well.
Also got him out of it as well.
Yeah, but he has. Yeah, but I watched him against PSG, and I know it's one game in isolation, but first half they were all over PSG. Just like they weren't afraid. They were straight down the throat, and it's almost that full throttle football. And again, maybe we haven't got the squad to do that straight away, but that style of football is something that it's how I would like to play football. Like, and how I want the football teams play.
Wonderful stuff. Before we move on to the questions, just like to re-announce that Dave and I and Finn and potentially Jord, if he can be bothered, will be at the. I could have gone if he's missed, let him, mate, but I didn't. So I didn't. And you've had enough. You've had enough this podcast, and I do apologise.
Enough, yeah.
Well,
at least it's not the old man jokes anymore, Jord.
No, we've moved on from those.
You did slide one in when you were saying he was whipped.
Yeah, like 28 years married or something. Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
Thanks, mate. I know. So we are doing the Molyneux Sleep Out on the 18th of November. So the funds will be shared between Wolves Foundation and the Good Shepherd charity, and they provide food and support services in and around the city. So we've raised about £75 so far. We're trying to raise about £300. So, if anyone's got a bit of spare change and would donate, I know myself and us lads really would appreciate it. Like I said, trying to get to £300. So still got a while to go, but as always, we appreciate your support, and it's for a good cause. And hopefully see some of you there. No one's contacted me, re the sleeping bag, which I requested on the last podcast. Don't really want to buy one, so if someone could provide a sleeping bag with me, and I'll maybe put a tenner in the pot. Let me know, because I don't really fancy doing it in just like trackies. So if someone could be of assistance, that'd be fantastic, because I'm never going to use it again, apart from maybe the next sleep out, because I can't stand camping. I'll never do it. So if someone could help me out, that'd be fantastic. Moving on to the questions. Thanks to those who sent all those questions in on Twitter today. The first question is from Richard Fletcher. I'm conscious of the time as well, lads, so we'll try and fire through these. Richard Fletcher's asked, why does Daniel Podence consistently escape criticism from Wolves fans? All I see is failed tricks, flicks, backing out of challenges, lack of end product, and little robustness when the going gets tough. Finn, I know you're a fan of Podence. Why does he continue to escape criticism? And do you think he does?
I think that's harsh. I think he gets criticised. He's a very form player, as I said before. The flicks and tricks. I mean, at Chelsea, he tried out 4 or 5 back heels. All didn't come off. He had a horrendous game. And then I think 3 or 4 came off for him. And I think in the Forest game, I think when you look at, I think I saw on the other 14 the other day, he's top of that other 14 chart for chances created. So it's what you're going to get with a player like that. Fair enough, he's not a Jota in the sort of backing out of challenges when they go and get stuff like Jota would kick people back. Podence is a roll round on the floor, probably a bit more than someone that we're used to. But I think it's what you get with a player like him to have a creative player at Wolves standard, not like City, Liverpool standard. It's going to be half of it doesn't come off, but when it does, I mean, he's our top scorer, isn't it? I mean, it's 2 goals, but he's our top scorer at the moment. So that's
I think isn't it?
Yeah. What a race so far. But yeah, I think we're about fair on him, to be honest.
Lads, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's harsh as well, the comment. I thought he was good. He was not good, but he was all right at Forest.
Yeah.
I think when the going gets tough, he's probably the only one I'm backing. I know he's only little, but probably the only one I'm backing a fight out of most of the players, to be honest. But nah, I mean, the form last year, I think up until our really bad run, I don't think we won a game when he didn't start. So
he's always top for like chances created as well, isn't he? For us?
Yeah, he's up there. So yeah.
Basher Baz has asked, should we bring Traore back to defend corners, or would he not be better remaining up and occupying their defenders? Dave, that's something that Lars used to do. He used to leave him up top, but I noticed that we are quite a small side, aren't we? And despite not being able to head the ball where he wanted to, he's a real asset with aerial George. He's like a coiled spring, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like aerially, he's very decent. But obviously, Lars has gone. His staff have gone. Bar one man, Tony Roberts, who does the set pieces. That's right. You'll probably see some of those things still. But I know I'm not sure if you included it. Someone mentioned the short corners as well. I don't. Did we do any of those? Did we get any? I think they just whipped him straight into the area, didn't we? So
yeah,
that in an ideal world, you'd have Traore up there, because I think you'd have 2 or 3 defenders back then. But it's just trying to get that balance of defensive stability, and then also obviously trying to get a team on a counter as well.
He may have noticed that as well. Did you see with the first corner that Forest got the confusion that Traore went up and then they told him to come back?
They bollocked him, didn't they?
They left 2 up, didn't they? Like we left 2 up.
Ignore it, yeah.
Then I can't remember, one of the Forest players went in and then Traore stayed back. And then it was just a bit, I think the plan was to leave 2 up against him. But then obviously, it changed during the game.
Did you say Aït-Nouri fit was one of them?
Yeah, they left Podence on the halfway line for obvious reasons, and then Aït-Nouri like halfway up. And he broke a few times.
He broke. I'm sure. I do remember we had one counter attack, wasn't it? And now I remember. Yeah, it makes sense because on the ball he's probably one of the quickest, one of the most skillful. To be fair,
I
think that was one of the ones I remember.
Do you remember that one Southampton away where Traore was defending deep on a corner and just didn't get out and left someone like 10 yards onside and they scored? I'm just scarred from that whenever he comes back, but it seemed to work okay at the weekend.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? How many players you commit forward? Because like if you leave 4 up there, they're gonna have to leave forward. They're not going to leave it's like who's got the bigger bollocks, really, isn't it? When it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jake Williams has asked, and I feel like we may have covered it, but Jord, I'll come to you, mate. Is it worth considering the season to be a write-off and getting in a boss to keep us up potentially with a view going back in for Lopetegui at the end of the season, or would we be better off trying to hire a long-term Bruno replacement now?
I think if the long-term replacement's there, then do it. And I think that's why Rob Edwards got an interview like early on in this process because they're like, actually, could he come in and do like almost that stopgap? I don't think we'd be giving him the permanent job, but I think they're exploring their options at the minute, and I do feel like Foden have got. I mean, I'm quick to criticise Foden. I think they get a lot of stuff wrong, but Plan A was Lopetegui. Always was, always has been. When he was available, we were going to try and get him, and obviously for reasons out of our control and his control, it's not the right time. So for me, if the right person's there and you're going to back them, then do it. I don't feel like you can bring in someone like Michael Beale and go, "You got it to the end of the season, mate. Then our man's there." If you bring it in someone like Michael Beale, you commit to it, you give him the contract, and you back him. If like playing devil's advocate, like we did a little bit earlier, where I mentioned about Lopetegui, they're still waiting for whatever happens with his old man, then that's completely different. But I do feel like the next manager needs to be long term, unless the club come out and tell the fans and announce that this is short termism, and we're still looking. But I don't think you can write the season after what is it, 10 games?
No, because this will be the third season we've written off in a row.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
it would be.
Like 50% of the seasons we've had the Prem we've written off.
The thing
Transitional
is,
season number 3.
we've got it already, haven't we? Like we're a couple
Four
wins away from being like top 10 comfortably, and then the season looks a little bit differently. And outside of the usual suspects, I think it's a poor league. You know, I really do. So put a run of games together, it looks a lot different.
Final question is from Sam James, and probably one for Dave and I. Not pre-Leicester or Palace related, but are you guys planning on doing a Fabio Silva progress review of an Anderlecht fan? Very interesting to see how the Golden Boy's getting on. I actually did a podcast with an Anderlecht podcast called Mouth Side, which is like what they work with the club, so we could definitely get them on to talk about Fabio. But Dave and I don't know if you may or may not know Sam, but Dave and I went over to watch him play a couple of weeks ago against FC Charleroi, and he was absolutely gash. It was awful. But he's scoring a few goals and he's doing well.
Yeah, there is a plan probably around the World Cup break that we'll do a video, like a half-season review, almost like a lone review about how everyone's getting on. I don't know, is League One and League Two stopping during the World Cup, or is that carrying on?
I was thinking that with the Championship with Beale.
Yeah, I think the Championship will stop because it normally does. I'm not sure if the rest of the football league stopping on, and like non-league and that, but yeah, there'll be a video anyway because there's a couple of players that are out on loan at the moment. Even flipping Keanu Hoover had a good game. Say 2 assists.
League Two's carrying on.
Yeah, how is it? Okay.
Yeah, and let me just double check. Carry on. Talking.
League One below in it. Then we'll stop.
Yeah, it's got to.
We'll carry on. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, it must be League One as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, international breaks, League One below, normally carries on.
Unless you've got a number of players out.
Yeah.
It's a bit shit though. Say if you've got, I don't know, you've got a few players who are going to World Cup and League One, which is probably unlikely. But what do you do? Postpone all your games and then play them at the end of the season?
If you have five players more unavailable, you can request a postponement, and then their football league will look at it. Yeah.
Maybe. Chaps, that's all we've got time for this week. It's a bit of a bumper episode, over an hour and 20 minutes. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. Dave, it's been a pleasure. Where can people find you should they wish to follow you?
It certainly has. Yeah, it's Dave Has a Party on Twitter and public Instagram.
He's beat me to it. Finn, where can people find you should they wish to follow you, Fal?
Finners, FINERRZ, Twitter, Instagram is also public, and YouTube.
Jord, LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was going to say last week got about 6 requests on LinkedIn. So I'll tell you what,
quite a few as well.
Yeah, you've got to grow that network. That's all it's about. There you go. No, but Jord was 7, Twitter, Instagram, all public, nothing to hide over here.
Whoa! What do you mean by that?
You insinuated.
When you come for as a party, mate, you better not miss. Oh, I'm M Cooper writes on Twitter, Instagram on private, and Matt Cooper bites on YouTube if you're a fan of the mixed grill. We are at Talking Wolves across all of our socials, including LinkedIn. Thanks to those who liked the LinkedIn page over the past few weeks. Had quite a few likes, so appreciative of that. Don't forget the Betmate pot for the Palace game is on the homepage, £3 in, your chance to win 600 quid. And of course, for the Sunday game, it's a Sunday 2 p.m, £2 in, your chance to win £400. Be gamble aware. If you have if you have enjoyed the video, make sure you drop it a like. If you're new here, subscribe. Let us know in the comment section down below what you thought, who you want to be the next Wolves manager and who you think it will be. And until next time, hopefully when we're doing the next pod, we're on the back of 3 wins in a row and we're off to Europe. But until next time, guys, take care.